find weird people and do weird stuff with them. I think that's the spice of life, isn't it? What's your big, hairy, audacious goal? What do you hope to accomplish? What's your purpose? Why are you doing this thing? And what are your values? What are the guardrails that ensure that you're going to do it right?
Today's guest is someone who believes life is too short to be meh. He's a storyteller, a creative instigator, and believe it or not, an occasional octopus whisperer. From stages to classrooms to his own Rebel podcast. Please welcome Michael Dargie.
If you're living a life that spells like meh, that's M-E-H, and you want to make it memorable, then this might be a podcast that you need.
So to answer your question, I think that these devices are really cool and really great, but it's really cool to put them down, like even just leave them at home. And then just go for a walk without that.
What's the weirdest thing that you've done?
I'm sitting there and I'm playing my guitar and I'm just minding my own business. I've got a cafe beside me, like a little espresso. And then a guy shows up and he's just like, "Oh, can I play your guitar?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure." So then he starts playing a song. And then before you know it, I'm surrounded by 20 people. And everybody is taking their turn with my guitar, singing their favorite song in the middle of this piazza in Rome. And that was magical. Nike is a really interesting example as a business. Yeah. Like the stuff they did with Colin Kaepernick is so cool. But even before that, one of their first pieces of advertising was "There is no finish line." That was all they said. And my God, that's memorable. How old is that? That happened in like this early 70s. Now it's 90s too, right? Like we're so far, and it still resonates. It still hits hard because it's true. So in a brand world, from a business perspective, the platform for a business is what do you do? Why do you do it? Who do you do it for? And why do they care?
If you're living a life that spells like meh, that's M-E-H, and you want to make it memorable, then this might be a podcast that you need. Welcome, Michael. How are you doing?
So good, Utkarsh. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited for this.
Looking forward to the conversation. And for everyone, Michael helps brands go from meh to memorable. And I told him that we might talk about brands, but we'll definitely talk about human lives because that's what we're here for. And Michael, would love to see how your perspective on adventure shapes our listeners. And then what do you feel about doing weird things with weird people? That's the hypothesis today.
Okay. Well, I mean, I love it. It is my power move is to find weird people and do weird stuff with them. I think that's the spice of life, isn't it? Is, find the people that are maybe different than you, but maybe have the same alignment to have an adventure.
Yeah.
To go and explore the world, to be curious and to find out what happens when you do this or do that.
Yeah. And that's how you and I found each other, right?
Yeah.
Amazing. But the ritual at the podcast is that we want to start from the very beginning. And so the first question that we start with is, if that 8-year-old Michael, the little boy, wherever Michael was growing up at 8 years old, if that boy were to come and meet you right now, what kind of a conversation would emerge between the two of you?
This is such a powerful question, and it has been on my mind a lot. I mean, I think that 8-year-old me would be pretty excited by what I've done with life, but by the same token, I think that he would have some pretty harsh words about, some of the things I should have done sooner. It took me, 8-year-old me wanted to be a marine mammal biologist. That is what I wanted to be when I was 8.
Wow, marine mammal biologist, very specific.
Super specific, because I was watching The Undersea World of Jacques Cousteau when I was a kid, and I was just like, I was fascinated by the underwater world. It took me, it wasn't until, I think probably 8 years into marriage, and I went scuba diving for the first time. It was the most memorable thing I think I've ever done, and I chase that feeling every single time I scuba dive now in every body of water I get to. But I think 8-year-old me would be like, you should have done that when you were 9. Like you should have started that adventure, because the underwater world is such a gift that we get to explore. So that would be it.
So pretty excited with what he sees. But also harsh. And I agree, like last year I went to Cairns, this north part of Australia, and we went to the coral reefs. Stunning. Yeah. I think it's unreal. It's unreal. But at that age, at 8 years old, what kind of adventures were you having that started to shape who you have become?
Yeah, I don't know. Like when I was growing up, like we grew up just outside of Toronto in Canada, with a small town, and we were basically kicked out. In the morning by my parents saying, come back for lunch, and then later come back for dinner, and then later come back before it's dark. Those were the parameters that we had. We grew up just behind us was a creek called Duffin's Creek, and there's a forest, and we just went and explored, and we caught turtles, and we played with crawdads, and we, built forts. That was life growing up. So I think that it's always been not an enforced adventure, but here's the world, go play in it. I don't know if that answers your question.
It does. And I'm wondering that there are these beautiful devices that first Apple started to create, and then more, which has stopped people from having that sense of play. I said people, and I think by people I mean from 5 to 95, because we're all so captivated by what we have in our hands that not all of us break free to have the adventures that we can have. So what would be your guidance to them? Like how like I'm just moving into this conversation around adventure, right? How does adventure shape us?
Well, so I have a couple thoughts on that. I mean, one thought is, so my youngest son, like both my boys are like, they're I want to say young men, they're men now, like they're in their 30s. But my youngest son, we raised them, our house backed onto a river, like in Okotoks, Alberta. And they had free run. Both boys could just go charge into the forest and go explore and do stuff. We didn't talk about screen time. We talked about outside time. If they wanted to come back and play Xbox or whatever, they had to accumulate a certain number of hours outside before they could come and do inside stuff. Right. And I remember, never forget this. There's a picture somewhere on the internet where my youngest son takes off for the afternoon, and we don't know where he is, but I end up going for a bike ride down the bike path, and I end up at this bridge that crosses the Sheep River to the library, and there's a rope connected to the bridge. And I'm just like, what the hell? And I look over the bridge, and there's my youngest son on a skimboard, and he's tied a rope, and he's holding it, and he's surfing the waves of the river. And that's just what he's doing. He's just like doing his thing, like he's just, right, like finding adventure. And that was his go-to move, was to just get out and experience stuff. So to answer your question, I think that, these devices are really cool and really great, but it's really cool to put them down, like even just leave them at home and then just go for a walk without that. I mean, we used to do that.
Yeah, love it, love it. What's the weirdest thing that you've done?
My God, the weirdest thing?
I don't know why this question came to me, but I was thinking about, as I was prepping for a conversation, uh, I would love to deep dive into whatever these experiences have been that you would call weird.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I accidentally ended up sitting on, oh God, it's like 4 o'clock in the morning. It's in Rome. It's in the Palatine Hills. And I'm sitting on the roof of the emperor's castle, overlooking the baths of the Vestal Virgins, playing my guitar. And I was playing Wish You Were Here by Pink Floyd. As Rome was down to a dull roar because it's 4 a.m., the sun is starting to break maybe behind me. And yeah, we got into it like there's some really weird shit that happened in Rome. But that's probably the weirdest thing that ever happened was, just that was so surreal. Earlier that night, we were in Piazza Navona, and like I got freaked out this is my first time in Rome, and I got freaked out by all the chaos and stuff. So I kept my guitar close because that's where I felt safe. And I end up in Piazza Navona, and I'm sitting on it's called something of the Four Rivers. It's like a fountain of the Four Rivers. And I'm sitting there and I'm playing my guitar and I'm just minding my own business. I've got a cafe beside me, like a little espresso. And then a guy shows up and he's just like, oh, can I play your guitar? And I'm like, yeah, sure. So then he starts playing a song. And then before you know it, I'm surrounded by 20 people and everybody is taking their turn with my guitar, singing their favorite song in the middle of this piazza in Rome. And that was magical. I don't know how that all happened. It just happened because I was in a spot doing a thing and I was receptive to other things happening.
Yeah.
Does that
Yeah,
fit?
absolutely. There's no container box which has to fit anything. I love it. I want to get into this idea now because I think that's what attracted me to have this conversation with you. You speak about brands, and I love the idea of brand jitsu, right? In the book, this idea helped me understand. Love it. Thank you.
Thank you.
And maybe you can focus on the brand story, and we'll see what lessons we can derive for the human story. But what does it mean to go from meh, and I'm hopefully pronouncing that word correctly, to
Yep,
memorable?
on it.
What does it take? What does it mean? Ask me first. That's where I would want to start. Like, what does a meh brand or a meh life look like?
Well, if I could, I'll tell you a bit of a story
Let's do it.
around it. Many years ago, I was in a show at Loose Moose Theater. So Loose Moose is one of the founding theaters of improvisational comedy in the world. And we were doing a show called Maestro Impro. And basically what happens is 14 actors go on stage and they perform scenes together. And then at the end of every scene, the audience votes. They give you a score from 1 to 5. And at the end of the round, the lowest scoring improvisers get sent away until at the end of the night, there's only one maestro left, right? So we had gone through we'd gone through the night. The theater's electric. It's a 200-seat theater, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it's pretty huge, like in our world. And the night is electric, and there's 3 of us left. And myself and another guy get chosen to go up and perform a scene together. And we crush it. Like the audience scored a 4 out of 5. So we think that we're going to the final. And then a really good friend of mine, Jen Bain, she has to do a solo scene. She's all by herself on stage. And oh my God, like she just crushes it. So she asks for a spotlight on center stage. She asks for the stenographers backstage to bring out a couch. She walks out of the spotlight over to her purse and grabs this thing from her purse and goes and lies down on the couch and pretends to go to sleep. And on her chest is this little dog puppet. And I need to pause because that's what it took. It took a pause for the audience to understand what was happening. And the audience laughs. And the dog looks at the audience. And she's just trying to go to sleep. And the audience laughs harder. And the dog gets really excited, right? That there's an audience there. And Jen is like just trying to go back to sleep. The dog's bugging her and stuff like this. And this is just a puppet that's happening. And the audience laughs even further. The dog looks at Jen, does a little dance around Jen, tries to nuzzle her awake. And she just pushes the dog away and dives back. 5 minutes of this happens. And not a word is spoken. It is one of the most powerful pieces of theater I've ever seen in my life. And I will never forget it. And it's in the preface of my book. I sort of draw that out because what my friend and I did, which scored a 4 out of 5, was meh. It was forgettable. It was disposable. It was a thing that I remember we did well, but I don't remember what it was. Memorable is when you land on truth, because every single person in that audience, she scored a 5, by the way. They would have given her a 10 if they could. Every single audience member, anybody who's had an animal, like Ed, cat, dog, parakeet, whatever, recognized what was happening on the stage was true. And it's such an important part of us because we saw that as this moment, this slice of life, this moment of truth, this just brilliant bit of life that we saw through the eyes of a dog and the eyes of a human who's just trying to have a nap, for the love of God. You know what I mean? So that to me is what's meh versus memorable. Truth and clarity, I think.
That's beautiful. I'm trying to think of examples that I'm surrounded by. And I love the idea that what meh means, and I'm connecting it back to human life. What meh would mean is that you live a life which maybe not even you are fully proud of. And I feel like a sense of pain that's going within me as I'm talking about this. And so, because there would be 9 billion people on the planet. And this could be the last day that we be on this planet, and still there are people who have meh lives. And then there's the other side, which is memorable, which you shared that beautiful story. And I think you said the name Jen. I'm never going to forget Jen. And I'm going to think of the puppet and think of the dog and think of And so that becomes the truth, the clarity, the memory that it creates.
Yeah.
How does one go from meh to memorable?
It's a deep question. But I think that if we take a page out of Jen Bain's book, for example, and she wasn't trying hard. Do you know what I mean? Like she just presented us with this slice of truth. I even look at, my youngest son surfing on under that bridge. Just a slice of truth. He wasn't trying to prove anything or be anything. He was just being. So I think that's what makes things memorable, is not because you can see lots of people trying to be something and trying to do something. Nike is a really interesting example as a business. Like the stuff they did with Colin Kaepernick is so cool. But even before that, one of their first pieces of advertising was there is no finish line. That was all they said. And my God, that's memorable. How old is that? That happened in like this early 70s. Now it's 90s too, right? Like we're so far,
Right.
and it still resonates. It still hits hard because it's true. Because if you're an athlete or if you're a musician, if you're anybody trying to do something, you know that the finish line isn't the end.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know why Nike was striking in my head as you were speaking about not trying to do hard, just be who you are. And I finished the half marathon last year in Melbourne. And as I was coming back, thank you. And as I was coming back to the train station, there was a big ad by Nike. And all that said, and I would have read it for like 3 seconds, but I remember it. All it said was, remember, you did not start running to finish the marathon. I was like, blown. Yeah, exactly. Like still, because how you apply that to the race, to life, to a brand, to everything, right? Because you do something for the sheer joy of it.
Yes.
Life has, and a brand, again, we'll keep doing this this paradoxical conversation.
I love it.
Life, the end of life is you get buried 6 feet down under. That's it. That's it. And so you want to make this a memorable life.
Yes. I did an ad campaign for a company called Pearson's Funeral Service. So they're a funeral company. Like they help when people die. And we did this campaign, and it's Life by. And I mention it in the book, and I've mentioned it in other places as well, but it's like Life by Mary, for example. And it shows a picture of this amazing elderly woman with a surfboard living her best life. So Life by Mary, celebrations by Pearson's. And the idea behind this campaign was, we're all going to shuffle off this mortal coil at some point. Like it's going to happen. You can't escape it. Nobody's done that yet.
Yeah, I hope that never happens. I hope that. Yeah.
But the reality is going to happen. And while you're here, you have this little slice of time to do stuff and do the stuff that you want to do. And it's not even how people will remember you. That's not what I mean by memorable, but like, what mark do you leave? Did you do your best? Did you have fun? Did you help others?
Yeah. Love it. It's such a fucking simple idea.
I know.
It's like, there's no rocket science to it.
Yeah.
And again, I think as I'm saying that, and I love your view on it, but again, we get into this frustrating comparison game, right? Which is that Utkarsh has a podcast. Why don't I have one? Michael has written a book. I not written a book. Elon Musk just launched a space shuttle to Mars. Why have not I? And we keep doing these comparisons. How do we get out of that?
Yeah, I mean, I struggle with that a lot, Utkarsh. I mean, I want to do so much while I'm here because I'm passionately curious about stuff. Like I started my podcast because I wanted to know how it worked. And then here I am, like heading into season 9 and having great conversations. I wrote a book because I kept telling people I was going to write this book. And eventually it became this thing where I'm just like, if I don't write the book, I'm a liar. And so I had to, can I swear? I had to fucking do it. Like I finally had to and that was painful. My partner, Jen McLean, she was published before I was, a book of cat poetry, by the way, written by a cat for cats. And she, jennifermclean.ca, but An Ode to Myself is the name of the book. And she would tease me relentlessly because my book wasn't written. By the time I got an agent, by the time I got a publishing deal, I still hadn't finished writing the book. So now I had to get the book written. Do you know what I mean? Like,
No pressure.
yeah, no pressure whatsoever. I had 6 months. I probably spent 2 of those months like spinning around, like being like, oh my God, what am I going to do? How am I going to do it? And then finally 4 months out, I'm just like, holy shit, I got like 4 months to finish this thing. I got to get it done.
What else? If we were to go back to brands and you gave the example of Nike, from just do it to there's no finish line to Utkarsh, you did not start running because of the marathon. What else takes a brand from meh to memorable?
There's a thing in my book and a picture that I drew on a napkin for somebody like 10 years ago, because this person, they just seen me do a talk and they're like, oh, I want to work with you. I'm like, cool. And we meet for coffee. We're down in Kensington in Calgary. And they're just like, hey, I want a logo and I need a new marketing piece to download off my website. I'm like, cool. Like, what do you want for a logo? They're just like, I want a blue boat. I'm like, cool. Like, I like blue boats. I can do that. And I'm like, but why? And he goes, what do you mean why? I'm like, why a blue boat? Like, why is that going to be the icon that represents your company and is going to be the thing that people imprint on? Why is that? He goes, nobody's ever asked me that. I'm like, all right. So I drew what I now call the world's cheesiest metaphor, which is on a napkin. I drew the top of an iceberg. And I said, this is the outward expression of your brand. This is what everybody sees. And I drew a little penguin, little sunshine. There's a fluffy cloud. There's like an albatross. And I'm just like, imagine that's what people see as they float by on their boat or whatever. As your iceberg goes by, they see that stuff. That's really cool. I said, but what's below the surface is what allows that iceberg to be present. It allows it to be seen, because if it wasn't there, it would flip upside down. There'd be nothing. So down below the surface, we have things like vision, purpose, and values. Like, that's where we start the conversation. Like, what is your vision? Like, what's your big, hairy, audacious goal? What do you hope to accomplish? What's your purpose? Why are you doing this thing? And what are your values? What are the guardrails that ensure that you're going to do it right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And above that is what I call the brand DNA. And so if we go back to improv theater for a sec, Keith Johnstone would say, he's the founder of Loose Moose Theater. He would say that when you go on stage, you have about 30 seconds where you can do whatever you want. And the audience will be with you. But during that 30 seconds, you should create what's called a platform. They need to know, who are you? Where are you? What are you doing? Who are you with? And what's your relationship? So if I go on stage with you, Utkarsh, and I'm just like, I'm doing this, I'm digging a hole just so that people, if they're listening, not watching, they know what's happening. I'm like, Utkarsh, have you seen Dad? We know right now the answer to those 5 questions. You and I are brothers. We're outside. I'm digging a hole. Dad is somewhere. We don't know where. So right now, the audience can understand the circle of expectation. So where this story can go. They go from leaning back in their seats, wondering what's going to happen, to now leaning forward, understanding what might happen. Right? And you might say, oh my God, I thought you had him, which then tilts the scene, because we need to have a platform before you can tilt it. And the tilt is the emotional exchange that happens that makes us care about what happens next. Like, is Dad dead? Did we lose Dad? Where's Dad? Like, now we have more questions and the story can move forward. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. So I love this. I actually drew this, the world's cheesiest metaphor.
I love
it. I'm gonna steal that. It is so true. This is the world's cheesiest metaphor, but
it is.
It communicates the message really well.
100%. So in a brand world, from a business perspective, the platform for a business is, what do you do? Why do you do it? Who do you do it for? And why do they care? If you can answer those 4 basic questions without any marketing spin, and when I do this with clients, it's 4 hours just to answer these 4 questions. It's tough. But the idea is that if you're really sincere and truthful and strip away all the BS. Nike, for example, back in the day, their brand DNA might have been, you make shoes. That's so what do you do? Why do you do it? To improve athletic performance. Bill Bowerman and Philip Knight. Like, Bill Bowerman was all about helping his athletes perform better. Philip Knight believed that everybody should be running. Like, it's just a thing that you should do. It makes you a better person. Who do you do it for? Athletes. Why do they care? Because it actually does improve athletic performance. Like, Bill Bowerman would make shoes under the stands of the Oregon track and field using his wife's waffle maker. he would create these mixtures and give them to his athletes on hill training to see if the high glucose or whatever would improve their athletic performance. That's what he was about. If we can get that clear right away, what do you do? Why do you do it? Who do you do it for? Why do they care? And strip away all the bullshit and just be clear on that stuff. That's then a platform we can build on, and we can then look at the brand personality. How do you show up in the world? How do you walk, talk, and act? Who do you attract? Who do you repel? You know, that's a really important thing. Like, what's your language? That'll also help eventually with colors and the typography and all that other stuff. Above that is your customer, the hero of the story. You're there to serve them. You're the Yoda or the Obi-Wan who's helping Luke or Princess Leia on their journey to defeat the Empire. You're just there to help them, give them the force so that they can go do that. That's your job.
Yeah. Love this. So, and look at Apple, look at Nike, look at so many brands, and you'll have more examples. And I think everything that you're saying resonates. And now I'm just gonna nudge our listeners. If you don't still see it, you're not someone who discusses marketing or brands every single day, ask yourself these questions, because what Michael just shared is such a great framework for life, where at the top is what the world sees, which is you, the expression of who you are, the personal brand that you carry, and below it is your vision, purpose, and your values. What are your big, hairy, audacious goals that'll keep you going? And I was talking to someone earlier this week, Michael, they asked me, Utkarsh, do you have 45 minutes to brainstorm on why should they start a podcast? So they want to start a podcast.
Right.
And I said, I can have those 45 minutes, but first answer the question, why do you want to start a podcast?
Yes.
Because it's a long journey. It's not a sprint. It's not that you'll release 10 episodes and you'll be Stephen Bartlett. It's not that you'll be Jay Shetty tomorrow. You would want to, and you can aspire to be, but it's not going to be a 1 week hustle. It's going to be more long term. So what's going to keep you in it? What's going to allow you to have Michael on the show and have conversations with him deeply, thoughtfully, and all of that? And then ask yourself these questions, which Michael said. What do you do? Who do you do it for? Why do you do it? And why should they care? Love these questions.
Yeah, I think they're important.
I think they are. Once you ask these, once you create that clarity, I think, around the brand, and as you were saying, the colors, the typography, all of that will emerge from that. Once you have clarity on your own self around these, the alignment, the courage, the clarity, the ability for your brand to show up and build that memorable life. That's what you and I were talking about.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, if you don't do the work below the surface, you can't, not that you can't enjoy it, you're always going to have it above the surface. It's just, I don't think it's going to be as impactful. I don't think it's going to be as memorable. Like from a brand perspective, you're not going to find the Life by Mary if you don't do the work below the surface.
Yeah.
Right? If you're Nike, you're never going to find there is no finish line. And from, my own personal thing is do cool and weird shit with cool and weird people. I would never find that if I didn't understand myself below the surface.
Slow it down. What does that mean? Do cool and weird shit with cool and weird people. And where did that come from?
It just showed up one day. Like I'm trying to live an authentic life. And I shouldn't say trying. I'm living my authentic life, whatever that is. And it's hair, warts, all the stuff. And what I discovered along the way is I like to do cool and weird shit with cool and weird people. And it sort of became this mantra where, am I doing that? Like, I met you, you're a cool and weird dude.
Thank you.
We've done some shit together that's just like, oh my God. And we will do more in the future. And I find that that's what brings me happiness, joy, clarity, focus, because I don't care for ordinary that much.
But it's hard, right? And I'm being very honest and transparent here because, someone could be listening to us and say, oh, Michael, Utkarsh, you've figured it out, man. But it's really hard. And you can have all the successes and whatever that success might look like for me or for you. But on the hard days, how do you stride forward?
That's a great question. I mean, I have more hard days than easy days, if I'm honest. I think that a motorcycle helps. There's nothing, I am a very Zen being. I don't necessarily like thinking about yesterday or what can happen tomorrow. I really like the moment. So getting on a motorcycle, and I have maybe too many motorcycles, but I'll get on a motorcycle, I'll ride, and you're in the moment. You can't think about anything other than the moment you're in. You're smelling the smells, you're eating bugs, you're existing in this fragile moment that could end at any time. And I love that. That's how I get through the hard times, I think.
Yeah, love it, love it. I'm just, as you were saying this, I was thinking of giving a prompt to ChatGPT to create a thumbnail for this conversation. And my team, if you're listening, please make a note of this. Put a Zen monk that looks like Michael with a cap on a bike and in the moment.
Yes.
Love it.
I'm all about it.
All about it. Do you have days when you compare yourself to others?
Honestly, another great question. I mean, I'd lie if I said no. I don't necessarily know who I compare myself maybe to something, a person that doesn't exist, that has it all together. Like there's an imaginary Michael that has it all together, that has all the stuff, that doesn't work 80 hours a week, that isn't always trying to crush it and prove that he's crushing it. That there's maybe a future Mike I compare myself to. I think, I was talking with my agent the other day, like my literary agent. I'm just like, okay, so I've got these 2 books. One is another business book and one is nonfiction. And I'm like, I want to do that. He's like, good, do it. We can sell that. But I'm stuck in this moment, which is I've got to do these things and that stuff for these clients and this to put food on the table, the roof over our heads, pay for your insurance and gas and blah, 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 blah. So I think to answer your question is future Mike is the guy who's chill and is writing his book. The next one, whatever that happens to be, is doing another book tour. I just did one this last summer on a motorcycle and I enjoyed the hell of it. I want more of that. That's all I want to do.
Yeah, love it. Wow, I like the motorcycle. This vision of motorcycle. I love to run. I love to bicycle, but I've never driven a motorcycle. So that's. I don't know why that challenge keeps popping up in my head. If I don't want to do that to myself, but maybe I will.
Maybe you go take a motorcycle course.
No, as we're having this conversation, I want to kind of flip the script. So we're talking about what makes life, what makes brands, what makes stories, what makes things memorable. What makes brands boring, Michael?
I think it's fitting in, like just doing the status quo, the thing that just everybody else is doing. I'm a very firm believer in contrast. If everybody's yelling, if you whisper, people will listen. So I think that, in answer to your question, what makes things meh or like disappear is just being the same. And I also understand it's not lost on me how difficult it is for people to stand out or to be different. Like I get that because it's scary, but that is 100% what will pop you out and you will no longer be status quo.
Yeah.
Right. And just don't be afraid of it because it might be awful at first. You might make a big mistake and people will be just like, oh, you can't do that. And then if you just keep doing it because you believe in it, people will just be like, oh my God, I love this brand.
Yeah. Love it. Love it. And how do you see AI impacting the brands, the stories, marketing? How is AI impacting this world?
A great question. I think that AI is really good at being your buddy to iterate and to throw shit against the wall, if you will, and to tease out what might be not obvious. So I use AI regularly as a collaborative partner, and I've set up a whole bunch of custom GPTs for myself that do different things.
Yeah.
Because it's very important to be specific. Generic Chat GPT 5 isn't going to do it for me. It's got to be trained on my stuff. It's got to be trained on me and trained on my philosophy, trained on my writing even. So it can then give me things that I might not have thought of before, or can challenge me in a way that helps me break out of a cycle. Having said that, I just had a guy on my show yesterday, Jim Zub, who's a writer for Conan, if you follow that comic at all. I mean, he's a writer. He doesn't use AI. He understands story. He understands humans. He understands. I don't know that AI will ever take over the 25 years of storytelling passion that he has. It can get close, but it's not going to hit truthfully. It's kind of like Jen Bain on stage, like maybe AI can get close to explaining what a dog might do, but it's never going to have that moment of truth.
Yeah. Can't take it away. Can't take it.
Yeah.
Love it. For those who are still listening, I'm just trying to summarize. From being a marine mammal, wanting to become a marine mammal biologist, to dirt bikes, to instructing people on how to ride dirt bikes and bikes, to now taking author, podcaster. I think what's standing out for me, Michael, is just this whole idea of what you said, right? I'm curious about how a podcast works. I'm going to start one. I'm curious about how a book works. I'm going to write one. And I love this idea on how we can apply this to life, that if someone feels that they want to take their life from meh to memorable, then the idea is don't try too hard. Just be who you are. Take a deep breath. And last month I went to an offsite, Michael. It was like some amazing folks there, and the offsite was called Extraordinary. Welcome to your extraordinary life and business. And as we went in, we all have challenges, we all have comparisons, we all have procrastinations, and we all have imposters. None of us, I don't think even Elon Musk, maybe let Elon Musk be. He might not procrastinate, but everyone else does. I think it's important for us to understand that we are choosing to create our extraordinary lives or not. And the choice still belongs to us. And I think that is a great way to think about. There is no finish line, as you and I were speaking about, Michael.
Absolutely. I couldn't, 100%.
Yeah. But as we come to the final question of this podcast, the final one.
Oh my gosh.
A few decades from now, there'll come a point when you'll be 80-year-old, 80. If that 80-year-old Michael were to come to you right now and give you like a piece of advice, what would that Michael say?
Move, make the change. I've been trying to wait for the perfect moment to move to Vancouver Island, as an example. And there's no perfect moment. It's kind of like having kids. There's no perfect moment to have a kid. There's no perfect moment to take a pet into your house. There's no trying to plan for it doesn't really make sense. So I think that 80-year-old me will be, you're supposed to be by the ocean. Right now I'm landlocked. I live in a beautiful place, don't get me wrong. And I've got this beautiful studio. I've got this beautiful life. I got like all this stuff, but I'm being pulled to another place, and I've been making excuses for why I'm not there. And I think that 80-year-old me would be like, dude, every year you're not there is a year you're not there.
Yeah. Love it.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing. So all of you who are listening to this conversation between Mike and myself, make a move. There is no perfect time to do whatever you want to choose to do. And don't get us wrong. You want to start a podcast? Go start it. You want to go find a corporate job? It's amazing. You want to change careers? Do it. You want to have kids? Whatever that might look like for you, because we can't come into your houses and we don't want to come into your houses and have deeper conversations. But go, make a move, because this life is too beautiful for us to be wasting it.
Yes.
Amazing. And make sure that you share this with someone who might want to listen to this. And if you're on YouTube, like, share, subscribe, you have to appease to the algorithm gods. But all the show notes, all the links to connect with Michael will be in the show notes. Michael, thank you so much for this conversation. It felt zen. This conversation felt zen. So I appreciate you for being here.
I appreciate you, Utkarsh. An amazing experience. Thank you.
That's a wrap for today's episode of the Ignite Neurons podcast. If you found value in this, here's what I recommend. Take out a paper or a diary and just put down one thing that you can change about your life because you listen to this podcast. I'd really appreciate if you could share that in the comments below, because I'd love to see how it's impacting you or not. If you're on YouTube and watching this, then like, share, and subscribe, and please make this wisdom go viral. And if you're someone who loves your podcast on the go, then Spotify and Apple Podcasts are your go-to places, or wherever you're listening to this, just like, share it with a friend, and leave a comment, because I'd love to engage, love to have a conversation with you. Until next time, till we meet again, keep those neurons ignited, stay curious, keep learning, be someone who embraces a growth mindset, and I look forward to seeing you very soon.